And now to what the Justice Department is calling the largest college admissions scam they have ever prosecuted. Dozens of actors, coaches, and CEOs are among those charged. They stand accused of paying millions in bribes to get their kids into elite schools and paying people to cheat on the SATs for their children. Two of the more recognizable names on the indictment are actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Huffman starred on ABC's Desperate Housewives, and Loughlin is best known for her role on Full House. The schools named in this indictment include Georgetown, Stanford, UCLA, the University of San Diego, the University of Southern California, the University of Texas, Wake Forest, and Yale. Here's a bit of what the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney said about the case.
For every student admitted through fraud, an honest, genuinely talented student was rejected. The parents charged today, despite already being able to give their children every legitimate advantage in the college admissions game, instead chose to corrupt and illegally manipulate the system for their benefit. We're not talking about donating a building so that a school's more likely to take your son or daughter. We're talking about deception and fraud, fake test scores, fake athletic credentials, fake photographs, bribed college officials.
CBS News correspondent Chip Reed is tracking this story from Washington. Hi, Chip. Boy, this is something else. Can you explain exactly what those involved in this scheme are accused of doing? I know there are multiple parts to it, but give us an overview, if you will.
Well, there are really two main schemes that went on here. The first one is kind of the low-budget one, and that's what Felicity Huffman is alleged to have done, that she paid about $15,000, and the cost ranged from $15,000 to $75,000 to get someone else to take the SAT or the ACT for your child, or go to a therapist, get special permission for your child to take the exam separate from other people, get a little extra time, and then somehow or other they would get somebody in there who's a real ringer on these tests to change some of the answers to give them a higher score. And in fact, William Singer, the man who was in control allegedly of this entire scheme, would sit down with the parents and say, what's a good SAT score for your child? Because they didn't want a score that was too good because it would draw attention, but they wanted it good enough to get into the school. The second part of the scheme is the one that really cost the big bucks, averaged between $250,000 and $400,000, which is why there were so many CEOs, prominent lawyers, actresses involved in this, because you needed some big money to do this. And what they would do is they would create fabricated athletic credentials that their child was a rower or their child was a tennis player. Maybe they played a little, but they weren't the kind of people who were going to get scholarships to get into big schools for this. They would then bribe the coaches at the schools. There are about 9 coaches at these different schools who were involved in this and got a lot of money out of this. And then when it came time, after they were admitted because of their athletic credentials, they would either just not show up, which the coach understood because he was part of the scheme, or they would come out and play a little while and then quit, or they would feign an injury. So there were two parts. The first part is better scores on the SAT and the ACT, which is smaller amounts of money, but still a lot of money for the average person. And the other was the really big money, $250,000, I'm told, ranging all the way up to more than $6 million in one case, to fabricate an athletic resume that gets your child in, and then the child just kind of walks away from it later on.
Chip, it's truly mind-boggling. It's almost as if here's a menu of fraudulent services that were allegedly offered, and you could sort of choose your price.
Exactly, that's what it was.
You mentioned this man, William Singer. The Massachusetts U.S. Attorney says that he's at the center of the scheme. What else do we know about him so far? Did he begin as a legitimate college admissions advisor?
That is our understanding, that he did. He did that for quite some time, but this has been going on since 2011, so he's been at this for quite a while too, according to prosecutors. He has an organization in Newport Beach, California. It's called EDGE. I don't have the document right in front of me right now. EDGE College and Career Network is the foundation. What parents would do is contribute money to that foundation, and then, because it's a charitable foundation, allegedly, not only would they get their child into college through this fraudulent scheme, but they would then be able to write it off on their taxes. So from top to
Unbelievable.
bottom, according to prosecutors, this was really bad news.
You just have to wonder what sort of lesson you're teaching your children. I mean, first of all, have we heard then from any of the schools referenced in this indictment? Could they potentially face any consequences, even
It's
though the Attorney
possible.
General said that they were not necessarily
That's
involved?
right. He said they're not involved, but he didn't rule anything out here. He said there was one administrator, he said, at USC who was involved in some way, but otherwise the schools, other than the coaches themselves, were, according to prosecutors, so far believed to be oblivious to all this. It's really the parents they went after. For the 46 to 50, we've gotten different numbers, of the people arrested, 33 were parents, and there could well be more parents arrested. No children have been charged at this point, but they also said that could change.
All right, Chip Reed, thank you so much.
My pleasure.